Hi guys, welcome again to my channel. My name is MC. I make videos and blogs for international students who want to study, settle, and explore the opportunities here in Canada. So in today's video, it's going to be different because it's going to be a video series about SOP or Statement of Purpose or Study Plan, whatever you call it. So we're going to discuss it with Dexter. So he's gonna be my guest for this topic. And this video as well will be divided into three, so it's going to be video series which will be posted into 3 or 4 consecutive days. So make sure you guys watch this or finish this till the end, because this is very important when it comes to your study permit. Okay, you don't forget to include an SOP. Most people don't know how to make a strong and proper SOP. So guys, before anything else, I want to mention those people who posted their questions on our Facebook group and my mentorship group. So I'm going to quickly mention them, of course. So just a quick shout out to my SLE members, Anisha, Sharina, Soriano, Gracie Martinez, and then we also have another group, a student, a Pinoy Canada student visa. We have Isa Mernilo, Mark Uri, Julie Catalunya, my friend Christine Ventosa, Farouk, Ronaldo Mendez, Norman Hamza, Melanie Ramos, Hera Bonga Masapot, Rosaldo Agdalus, JL Taps, Jan Paolo, Sheena Lim, Kevin Anderson, and Jim Jason Rondon. Jim is my friend from Dubai. So your question, guys, will be answered at the end of the video series. It will be FAQ questions. So make sure that you finish this video series, because most of the questions will have been answered in our discussion with Dexter. So, and if you're my SLE members, if you're my subscribers and member of my website, my mentorship website, make sure that you join the SLE student lounge. It will be in the description box. Don't forget to click that and double check that, and check my mentorship site. You will get a lot of resources there. And what else? I think that's it. So let's start our discussion. Hi guys, welcome again to my channel. I'm with Dexter today. If you haven't met Dexter, I had Dexter before in one of my videos here in my channel. He shared his PR journey here in Canada. So if you haven't subscribed, if you haven't checked that video, I will leave that link in my description box and somewhere here in my video. So in today's video, we're going to talk about study plan. Are you not gonna say something?
So SOP, or the study plan, this is actually the if not the most important part of your application, because once you wrap up all of your documents and you're lodging it in, that is your representation, that's your voice, and that would stand as your attorney in front of the VO. So if the VO would skim over your application and there would be some questions, he will go onto your study plan, and then the study plan would be your last will and testament per se.
For me, study plan is like a persuasive letter, because your goal here is to get your visa, right? Your student permit. So you're trying to persuade the immigration officer to grant that
Mhm.
visa. So
So
there.
it's like in a business term, it's like a proposal plan.
So what would be your roadmap? You know, the
Sure.
overall goal once you finish your study. So they want to see that.
Okay.
So that's why this is very important. And also, like, if you have any red flags in your application, you can explain that through your SOP.
So,
So that
so
will be.
before we proceed, we would just like to inform you guys that this is part of the series of our videos that we'll be releasing within this week.
Hmm.
And Ems has the flow of what we'll be talking about for today. So make sure we will make sure that this is worthwhile, and
Yes.
you will get the best ideas from us. But
Hmm.
as a disclaimer, this is not the way to go. We are just sharing with you what we think is the best approach.
Yes.
And we are not ensuring you that if you follow what we're talking,
It
your
will.
SOP will be your key to the approval.
Yeah. It
Because
will
there's a
be
lot,
just a guide.
yeah, it will be just a guide. Because remember, guys, the approval is under the discretion of the visa officer.
So in this video, we will have a flow. So we're going to share the introduction. How would you make your introduction? How would you share your working and educational background? How would you explain why do you need to study here in Canada? Why do you choose this program? And then you're also going to include something about your finances. How would you support yourself? How would you sustain it? And then your travel history. And then the most important one, what will be your plan after study? And the last one will be home ties and closing remarks. So that's like the introduction, body, and then the end. So there is a style how to make a proper and strong study plan. So it will be a long video series, but it's worth it. So
True.
now we're
So
going
for
to.
those, oh sorry. So for those who might be wondering why we're making this video, so last week we run up a poll and we asked you guys what is the topic that you think is very important to tackle.
So now we're going to move on to our first part, which is the introduction of the study plan. So you go first.
Okay,
How would you
so
make your introduction, Dexter?
okay, so before we go there, there are a lot of people who are kind of torn between should I make my SOP longer or shorter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we will start from there because if you're going to say introduction, maybe you will just do your introduction about your life story
Yeah.
or when I was born, blah blah blah, something like. So come to think of this, guys, ask yourself first if you're going to make a study plan, if you are a reader yourself, if you
Mm,
like to read. Because if you don't like to read, then put yourself in the visa officer's shoes. If I'm going to submit my study plan to the visa officer,
mm-hmm.
is he going to read page by page?
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to give him 6, 7 pages, is he going to read all of it? So if we're
Yeah.
going to do with your introduction, make it catchy
Yeah.
and at the same time very how am I going to say it?
It
Like
should
leave a
be
footprint.
you can hook
Tension
the reader's attention.
agree. So introduce yourself. That's like the common, but don't introduce yourself as if you're in a pageant, like standing before in
Or
front of
in
you
an
or
interview.
writing this or writing this letter is a 16-year-old stunner, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Be very catchy and be very creative.
For
So we
me,
have some
I
example.
like if someone asks me how would you make an introduction in your study plan, I always say start with the story, you know.
So
As I've said earlier, study plan is like a persuasive letter. One of the example of starting your persuasive letter is through telling a story, you know.
agree.
Yeah. And there are different kinds on how to do that, right? So yeah, so when I started my introduction, I started with the story on how I shifted my career and why I shifted my career. So that's how I started my introduction. How did you start your introduction, Dexter?
I mean, guys, there is no format for specific format that you need to follow for
Mm,
the study plan
mm.
because it's just like writing an informal letter or a formal letter to your VO. So
And then yeah, so just don't start with the usual introduction that hey, I'm Dexter Quesada, 18 years old from this blah
mhm,
blah blah. I'm the son of this and this, you know, they don't want to know
yeah,
about your personal
true.
information, right?
they don't actually want to know whether or not you're a twin, whether or not you're an illegitimate child, or whether or not you've been raised by a single mom. Although
Yes.
you might be able to use some of those and incorporate it on the body, but in the introduction, make it very brief, just
Brief
so
and
you
clear and
brief
concise,
and
direct.
precise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
So
that's
it.
for introduction. Do you have anything to add?
So in my introduction, I remember I have uh, I actually I did not actually use an introduction. I just went straight to the point. I just
Mm-hmm.
said that my admission application has been approved,
Mm-hmm.
and now I wish to apply for a study permit.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, I also said that the documents are attached herewith, and herewith for you. Sorry, the original letter of acceptance from my institute and all the related documents are attached herewith. And then on the
Mm-hmm.
second paragraph, I introduce myself that I am my name, my age,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I actually also told them that my my year of graduation, because I think that is really important for them to know when was the last time you graduated.
Yeah, I think like introductions really quick, and then it could consist of, like 3 to 4 sentences, like really brief.
Yeah, really, really brief.
Mhm. So that's for introduction. That's our number one. And
Mhm.
then the next one would be educational and work background.
So in my case, I jump straight away to saying, so guys, there are a lot of question also saying that should I or should I not take a program that is in line with my work or my previous program. Because in my case, I was a nurse in the Philippines and my program is business. So in my third paragraph, I jumped right away into connecting my uh, previous program, which is nursing, into connecting it into the paragraph saying that since I am a nurse in the Philippines by profession, blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually told them that is my. You are actually telling them your history of education back in the Philippines, because that
Mm-hmm.
will pave way as you go along with your letter as to why are you studying in Canada and why are you taking up that certain program.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, this is just my personal view. Uh, it would be a very very strong um, statement if your program is totally on the other spectrum of what is your previous education back in the Philippines, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe a little closer to your job, or maybe on
Yeah,
the
the
other
recent,
spectrum of so
the recent
yeah, or
one.
on the other side of your job, because probably that would make them think that okay, this is really valid. That we're in. If say for example, if you're a nurse in the Philippines and you would like to take up nursing as well in Canada, I mean, like if I'm the visa officer, then you are better off just go ahead and take up that program back in the Philippines.
I have a opinion on that when it comes to nursing. So nursing here in Canada, we really have to study, right? They know
Mhm.
that our education in the Philippines, and if you're going to compare it here in Canada, it's not equivalent. You really have to take some courses. So if you're a nurse and then if you wanted to pursue nursing here, it's easy for you to tell them that you really need to study again because you want to bridge that gap, right? We have that competency gap that they're talking about
Mhm.
because, and also like for example, your education was like 10 years ago and you're taking like IT courses, you know that technology is
Is
changing or
evolving.
evolving, right? If you're not
True.
updated, it's easy for you to explain that, like, I'm taking a IT program because this is all what's happening in the world, and this is like the current events. Like, we cannot use the previous education because it's already obsolete. You know what I mean?
True. Okay, so also take into consideration, guys, to choose your words wisely. So the
Mm-hmm.
approach, always think of it that you are writing on a very terror picture. So
Mm-hmm.
think of it like you're writing to Miss Minchin,
Miss
or
Minchi.
yeah, or to a superintendent or whatnot.
You should sound like a professional. You know.
So you're just like very subtle approach to bragging your what you call this achievements.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you're also subtly
Should be humble.
introducing humble and introducing why you should actually approve my application.
Mhm. And
That,
then, like, to add one more thing in working experience, because as you know, there are some students who have that extensive work experience, like for 20 years or maybe 10 years, and then
mm-hmm,
they work in a different company, right?
mm-hmm,
I've seen some SOP or study plan, they listed every single experience.
true.
And even if
Yes.
it's not related to the program that they're going to take. So for me, you don't really have to tell them everything. You just need to mention that it's mention the work experience that will, benefit you,
True.
or that it should be related to the program that you're about to
Mm-hmm.
take.
Yeah, I actually agree with that one. You really
Mm.
don't need to declare to them your employers. Like I was employed with employer A, and the next I jump to employer B. That is not a resume. So there is another document for that.
You're
That is
not
a resume.
applying for, I mean, for a
Yes.
job.
You're only applying for a study plan. You're not applying for a job. So for heaven's sake, do not put it there, because in all of your documents, there's also a resume that you will be including in your application. So just put it there. So how I did it is I said that based on my experience, I'm a nurse in the Philippines, and in order for me to get hired, what did I say? So I said that in the Philippines right now there is an overpopulation of the nursing graduate, and
Mm-hmm.
it's hard for us to be employed, whether in a public hospital or in a private hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So most of these nurses go abroad, and
Mm-hmm.
some of these nurses also end up in call centers. That is
Yeah.
what I said. What I did is I go out of my way and try other fields.
Yeah.
So I have another job, a lot of jobs that are away
Mm-hmm.
from what I graduated from. So the way I actually connect my education and my work experience is I told them that I am a nurse, and being a nurse in the Philippines right now is very not feasible. That you will say that it is a noble profession, but guys, don't be so negative. Don't
Mm-hmm.
sound negative.
Yeah,
Just
don't. Yeah, I recently
don't
saw.
sound as if you're complaining.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
because that's a big no. Just say it on a different way. Say, for example,
yeah.
as as this pandemic taught me, my
Mm-hmm.
profession might be as noble as it is. There
Mm-hmm.
are other professions that I have to discover.
Yeah, yeah. For me, we have the same case, right? I also changed from nursing to business, right?
Mhm.
So it was like the way I explain it, it's the same. I told them that the nursing field is oversaturated, and getting a job in my home country was like close to impossible. But I
Yeah,
really,
I even I even
which
mentioned that.
is true. It was true.
True. I
Hmm.
also even mentioned that in order for me to be employed as a regular employee, I need to have a volunteerism for a year or two.
Yes,
in which it
I
is
had
my
that statement
expense.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did that
I
also.
work without pay
Work
just
without
to
pay.
gain that experience, you know?
True.
And then I told them as well that now I discover another career that I feel like I will grow, you know? So in my work experience as well, I explained that how I enjoyed my job right now, right? That's how I explain my work experience, what are my responsibilities that I'm currently doing right now. And like I'll give them some a little bit of my achievements during those like years that I work with this
True.
company. And then that's the time I
Hmm.
connected something
True.
about studying again. What
Yeah.
are my
So
huddles,
the
you know?
true. If you could see the approach that we did there is we're saying that being a nurse is a noble profession, but sometimes you also need to look outside of the box if
Mm.
you're good at something other than being a nurse.
That's why
And that is what we did.
yeah,
And then when we
that's why it's very important to assess yourself, like
true,
do an inventory of your skills, you know?
agree. So and then so you're building it up and then saying that in my case, like in my case, I told them that outside of the nursing profession, I've excelled in
Mm.
customer service, I've excelled in troubleshooting, I've excelled in people management and whatnot.
Yeah.
So what I told them, because I'm building up the momentum for me to answer why study,
Mm-hmm.
why are you going to study?
Mm-hmm.
So my statement, my connecting statement there is I am about to be promoted in my company, but
Mm.
then when they check um, my qualification, I wasn't considered because of my education background.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
So that
also
is
like my opinion on that. Um Imagine even though you have that work experience, but you don't have the, you know, the theory knowledge,
mhm,
it's still important to know the basics. So
mhm,
that was my explanation. Why do I have to study again? I yes, I know how like I can work, I can function, but still if you want to be promoted, they will still look on your application as a whole.
sure. And then we were also going to address those who would still like to continue with the same
Mhm.
line of education
Yeah.
here in Canada. So we're not saying that oh it's not good, you should choose another one. Yes, you can still continue your line of education in the
Yes.
Philippines, but you can also tell that since you're already good at it and you see yourself to be
Mm.
successful with that line of education and whatever is the profession that comes
Mm.
with it, you
Mhm.
just need to have an international degree that would make your profile stand out
Mm.
against the other candidates. So
Mm.
that is how you are going to build up your momentum into introducing to the next topic of why study again.
Hi guys,
Yeah.
so that's
Why
the
do you?
first part of my video that will be about introduction and the what else did we talk about? Work experience and the education background and why and how would you explain why do you have to study again. So if you want to continue watching, I will have the link here somewhere, or yeah, I will link the video above for you to go to the next part, which is part 2. I think that will be about why Canada and why did you not study in your home country, and then I think it will cover about the program and why that specific school. So that will be covered on our next video, which is part 2. I will have the link here above and I will have that in my description box below. Thank you guys for watching and I'll see you to the next